Okay, so some concrete action steps then. When you go home, and I think that Kimberly's going to be doing some of these things with you. So first of all, you're going to evaluate. Where are you right now? And I'm going to talk to you about some tools that you can use to help you do that. Evaluate means where are you right now, and you need to write it down. And it's specific. How many customers do you have? How much money do they invest with you? How much advertising you did? What results did you get from that advertising? And then look at the analysis side of it. What does that mean to you? How many of you read Style at Home magazine? How many of you have seen my ad in that magazine? Okay, not enough. It's $2,000 every time I put it in that magazine. But at least if one person saw it and it got them to my website, you know, that's what I have to check all the time. So we've looked at that and analyzed it, and we see it as a worthwhile thing. People do come to our class as a result of that. Then you're going to build your plan, and I'm going to give you some tools to help you do that. Build your strategy for the rollout from the end of January, and then the very, very important part is set your intention. Without setting the intention, you're not vibrating the message out to the universe. You're not setting your boomerang out, if you will. And then take action. So, business model. How many of you have one? It's a business plan, if you will. We kind of all do it when we get started, and then most of us don't really look at it anymore. Obviously, not having one is a waste of time and energy. You miss the efficiency of replicating things that went well. And as Kimberly said, I'm a big proponent of the analysis component of being more profitable. And if you're measuring everything that you do, which is a pain, Kelly's term was PIA, it is. How many phone calls did you get from that ad? How long were you on the phone with those people? How long did it take you to convince them that you were the person that they need to work with? What was the dollar remuneration? You went to a networking meeting. How many people did you actually meet? What was the result of that? How much money did it cost you to go and get those connections, and what have you done with them? Most of us don't do that kind of analysis, but it is very important. So what is your business model? Essentially, it's how you plan to make money. How do you plan to make money? Who's your target customer? What problems are you going to solve? What value do you deliver? How will you reach your customers? How will you keep your customers? How will you differentiate yourself? And what is your cost structure and your profit margin? Answering these questions are going to help you put something concrete down in your plan. It also does something to your inner psyche that gets you working towards your goal. And truly, most entrepreneurs work on a wing and a prayer. You know, it's which fire is out do we need to work on today, and that's what we're going to start our day with. And as Kimberly realized in her business, there's very clear benefits from having a structure and a strategy to doing business. And that's what we teach in the CSP class all the time is not just a policy and procedure, but literal steps to take. But if you don't take the steps, it's not going to work. So 7 really, I would say they are fast-trackable pointers, if you will, to help you get a strategic plan in play. We've talked about number 1, which is mindset, right? Make sure that your mind is working with the right thoughts, that you have a prosperity consciousness, even in down times, and that you identify your value differentiators. What makes you different than somebody else? If we have 2 decorators in the room, 2 stagers in the room, they're both going for the same job, why should they hire you? That's your differentiator. In your business model, you might be able to uncover some of those differentiators. And then you need systems, You need systems that you're going to follow, forms that you need to take the information down. All the things that you learn about increasing efficiencies help the profitability of you and also the profitability of your client. And then the magic, being able to duplicate it. We're all type A personalities, usually people who want to be an entrepreneur. And I hear it, from my coaching clients all the time. It's like, yeah, but I like doing it, and I actually don't like somebody else doing it. And my clients really want me. That's what they're paying for. Okay, well, guess what? You're a party of one doing a job, not a business. You have to have many more people working with you to replicate that system, or else how are you going to grow? And once you've done that, then you leverage it. So, for us, we were the first in our industry. I was the first, believe it or not, the first person in Canada to formally bring staging to the marketplace. In a country where nobody was doing it, where real estate agents, even today, they are our hardest challenge. They didn't believe it. One real estate agent said, look, you're wasting your time. You just might as well make a list and sell it to us for 50 cents because that's about all it's worth. You're not going to achieve very much with this concept. Now, that's raining on my parade, and I could have gone away and thought, okay, well, that's an idea that's not going to come to fruition. But more than 5,000 people have been through our program, and we know it works. The programs work, the systems work. So when it gets to pricing then, you will need to establish your value. It's all a process, and we're going to talk about all these different prices, but what value have you established for your scare? Your scare, something that we talk about at CSP, and it's a trademark of ours, but we've developed it. It's called your scare factor. What value of money are you putting in a representative fashion that quantifies your skills, knowledge, abilities, SKA, results, and expertise. So results for Kimberly is on time, on budget. So what is the value that you put to that? Once you look at, the skills you have, the experience you have, you put that down, how much money is that worth for you? I don't really recommend that you talk about hourly rates. We're going to talk about pricing models in a minute. But essentially, when you're putting your dollar amount that you're charging for a unit of your scare factor, there are three components to it. How much money are you going to pay yourself out of your company? How much are your expenses, and what will your profits be? So and it's a good job that Kelly and Laurie have gone because they'd faint. But thank you, Kimberly, for talking about $75. Some of us are at $75, and that's okay if you're starting out and that's where you feel comfortable. That's not a problem. A good profit to start out with as a goal is 30%. So 30% of $75 is $22.50. If you want to make $50,000, then you're making about $24 an hour. And then expenses, you're left with $28.50. So every hour that you're billing, think about 3 separate bank accounts, and that's how it would break down. Over here, here is that 100,000 might be the 100,000 salary to you, not 100,000 in sales. So if you're getting 100,000 in salary, you're at $48 an hour. 30% of $100 is $30, and that leaves you with $22 to play around with for your expenses. Somewhere in that mix, you've got to come up with what works for you. That's just an example. So tally up your number. How are you going to do that? Think about what are your monthly fixed and variable expenses, taxes, not Facebook, what do you call that stuff? Website, your salary, vacation time. Add all of that up. Add that cushion that we talked about, and then multiply that by 12. That will give you your annual number, and then double it. That is your goal. So wherever you were last year, doesn't matter whether it was good or bad, at least double it, and that's your goal for this year. Okay, so for pricing models, what I've learned I worked for Manpower Temporary Services when I was in the corporate world, and we're the leaders in the world. That's what we believed, that's what we conducted our business as. And years later, I met one of my colleagues in a competitive brand, Kelly Services, and she said, oh, we used to follow you all over. We wanted to know who you were talking to, what your rates were. I'm like, really, what a waste of energy. What a waste of energy. We were just focused on getting business. Right, so make the competition irrelevant by creating an uncontested market space. Put the focus on the big picture, not the numbers, not your competitors, not your people around you. And then start thinking about the first way, somewhat similar to what they were talking about in terms of flat fee, but never telling the customer, you know, we charge $100 an hour or $3,000 an hour, whatever it is, and this is how much we figure it's going to be 10 hours. Work it out and tell them what the project price is, or by the job, not by the hour. Another way to maybe increase your business is to consider a blended rate. So obviously my expertise is in staging, and whether you know it or not, there are 3 distinct services that go into a completed staging job. The first is when we go in and we talk to the customer and create what we call the recommendations for getting the property ready for market. It's a fee-for-service consultation. It's not a, let's see how the temperature is and whether or not you like me. It's money exchanging for information. So those things now that were identified as necessary to get that property ready for market needs to be done. Step 2, somebody's got to do the work. Step 3 is what we call at CSP showcasing, where you place the furniture in the correct space, hang the art, bring in the accessories, etc. So those are 3 very distinct things. So for us, a blended rate would be selling to the customer, not an a la carte menu, but a combined blended menu of the consultation and the showcasing. If they want you to hire you for that second step, they can. So in your decorating business, are there services that you could blend together? So instead of them just choosing one and maybe they would buy 2, you're selling them 2. And you have to be brave enough to, let me tell you how I work, this is how we conduct our business, and this is what you get. This is the value of our skills, knowledge, abilities, results, and expertise. And the other one is GBB. So I'll talk about that separately. With GBB, good, better, best, that's what GBB stands for. Fred was saying that you sell from the top down. So I would agree with that in design services, absolutely. I have a dream about having a dream kitchen, and over the past couple of houses we've lived in, that's always been my bone of contention. And I met somebody who talked a good talk, and I invited them to come and give me a quote. So he sat down, we talked about all the things I'd really like to have, and he went away and brought me back a schematic of how it will be, and the fee was $100,000. Now, whether you think that's a lot or not is irrelevant, but to my Dutch accountant husband, it represents 1/5 of the value of the house we live in, not happening. So that sale never went through. But if he was using a good, better, best approach, he would have told me about the whole dream, then come down a level. If that's not in your budget, here's what we could do. And the lowest level would have satisfied the need in me to have something new. I need an island. I absolutely need new counters. So if he'd given me a quote for maybe a backsplash, counters, and an island, we would have started working together with him. We would have had that relationship. Once that is done, guess what's going to happen next, right? Everything else. Women make 85% of all buying decisions, and we have 95% veto power. We've known that for a long time, but now there's a book about it, the 85% niche factor. So you need to know that. You know, if you were at conference last year, I talked about the behaviors of people, how people buy, and understanding that helps you understand your client. But knowing that 85% of the buying decisions are going to be made by women, that's why I ended up with a dog, right? You know, it works, is really a very important part of it. So for us in staging, it could be a simple thing like we start off with good, because sticker shock in staging, you could literally lose the opportunity. So we start off with the minimum level of service that we're willing to put our name to. We're not going to say thanks for the money, but don't tell anybody we're here. You know, that's not a good thing. So it could be what we call occupied. Let me think, frick this, I keep flicking it. It could be occupied, the home's quite lovely, they've got lovely things that we could work with, so we call it occupied without any accessories. They're going to work with what they have. So that would be good. What would be better is maybe we upscale those accessories. Maybe the towels aren't great. Maybe the linens need to be upscaled. Maybe they don't have enough trees or lamps. That's generally it. And then your top level would be what you felt was absolutely necessary to really showcase that property. So you're giving them 3 options. When you do that, it's not a case of will they work with you? It's at which level are they going to work with you? And what we know from psychology is that most people will either do better or best. So it's like when you go to Canadian Tire and you get 3 levels of service. You know, for $100, we'll check your car and it does these 6 things. But if you go to our silver package, it's this. And in our premium package, it's all of the ticks to all the things that you need to have done to your car. You're giving them options.